Hey, everybody. Welcome to this fabulous episode of Next Level Healing. I am here with Noah. Full disclosure, he is my podcast manager. He is light years ahead of his time. He is a delight to work with. Hi, Noah.
Hey, Tara. Thanks so much for having me.
So what I love about high performers, and Noah is definitely a high performer at his very young age, he's already written 2 books, history books. He's been on the History Channel. He's run for city council, and everybody that he meets absolutely loves him. But when he ran into an issue that he wanted to resolve, he knew how powerful his subconscious mind is because he's been working with me for a year and he's been listening to people's testimonials. Can you take us back in time, Noah, when you realized, oh, I have something that I want out of my life and I want it out now?
Yeah. You know, Tara, we had been working together, obviously, for over a year, and everybody that works with you raves about you. So I had I had edited and produced so many episodes of your podcast and so many client testimonials that I had no doubt that you were going to be the one to help me with what I needed help with. I've always, my entire life, struggled with feelings of unworthiness and low self-esteem. And how that has manifested itself in my life is through hyperachieving, which hasn't always necessarily worked for me because I've always thought if I just achieve more and I just achieve more, that will make me feel whole. And even being run ragged and burned out and struggling with panic attacks and turning to emotional eating and drinking and all of these negative things, what do? Is I try to achieve even more. But I hit a point where I realized that was no longer serving me. And I was so stressed out. I was so anxious. I wasn't sleeping. When I reached out to you, Tara, asking if we could work together, I had been going on like probably, almost 48 hours of no sleep. I was just totally run ragged and deprived. And I knew enough to know that all of this anxiety and burnout and everything I was experiencing had a root cause. And I knew that it was within me. I didn't know what it was, but that's all I knew. And I knew that it needed to be taken care of. So that's why I reached out to you and we started your process.
I'm smiling because I can relate so much to this. So many high achievers have imposter syndrome, or just, I can totally relate to that because so much of my life I was always achieving the next thing, the next thing, the next thing. And then I'd feel good for like, a half a second.
Right.
And I'd be on to the next thing. So describe for our listeners what was the experience like, because fear is a big blockage. People are like, oh, the unconscious mind is unknown. Just walk our listeners through what that process is and demystify it.
The process was healing. It was transformational. And I would say it was so serene and it was so peaceful. I was so desperate when I reached out to you, Tara. Like I knew that I wanted to get this resolved as fast as possible because it was getting to the point where it was actually costing me things. It was showing up in my business and sabotaging my relationships with my clients and the services I was able to provide to them. It was showing up in my health. It was definitely showing up in my sleep and just my overall quality of life. And so I knew that, hey, I got to get this resolved as soon as possible. And it was, even our first session was a relief. It was like, I just felt like it was an escape from all of that. And it's interesting because I didn't go anywhere. I went inside and dealt with that. And it was, I couldn't help but smile during all of our sessions, particularly the first session. Tara, you had just provided a space where there was absolutely no judgment. Because again, somebody with chronic low self-esteem, I was like, oh God, I can't even tell Tara about this stuff because then she'll judge me. But it was not that at all. And I remember after our first session, I left and I just felt so at peace. I had a smile in my heart, and I kid you not, get the best night of sleep that I had ever gotten in probably my life up until that point.
So beautiful. I love that. And then what was the second and third session like for you? And how did your life start to shift and transform as you moved through those next months?
It was such a natural progression because everything we worked on in each of the 3 sessions built on each other. In our first session, we worked on acceptance and accepting myself. And then we worked on authenticity in our second session. And these were the things that were important to me because they were the root cause of all of the problems I was facing. And then our third session was really fun because at that point I had learned so much and I'm like, you know what? I want to start creating stuff. Like now that I've gotten some of this stuff out of the way, I don't want to think about the past anymore. I want to start manifesting and creating again. And that was so empowering because after that session, it's like after all of our sessions, Tara, I knew exactly what I needed to do. I had the answer. There was no doubt. I had utter and sheer confidence in myself, my value, my worth. And naturally, it showed up in every area of my life. I started, I didn't go on a diet. I didn't follow a meal plan. I just automatically started to lose weight because I loved myself and I knew what food was good for me. I knew what relationships were serving me. And it showed up in every area of my life, Tara. And the thing that I love most about your work is you're partnering with someone. Ultimately, it's them having a conversation with themselves and going inward. They're transforming themselves. You're just their partner, which I love. So that to me is so empowering.
I love to say I'm just a tour guide.
Yeah.
And I love to say there's nothing to figure out. I don't have to figure out anything. You don't have to figure out anything. You Google a subconscious mind, the answers just bubble up and they're authentic to who you are.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Hey guys, studies are showing that 68% of people that watch podcasts regularly don't click the subscribe button. Do me a huge favor. If you like this content, click subscribe so other people know where to go for the cool stuff. Thank you.
So tell us, because you're an extraordinary business person, how did it transform your business?
I mean, like what because I had been exposed to your work, Tara, I was fortunate enough to know that it was a no-brainer for me, making the investment, and I thought about it as an investment in my business. By doing this and signing up with Tara, I'm literally investing in my business, just like I would hire somebody or I'd sign up for a new software or something like that. And it's point blank, working with you, Tara, has impacted my ROI and my bottom line in a huge positive way. I mean, it's just plain and simple because for me specifically, one of my programs, right, never enough unworthiness, is I need to cancel people before they cancel me. And I was doing that in business. I would work with new clients or explore partnerships, and I would doubt myself and I doubt my ability to perform. So, I would just let things dissolve. I wouldn't show up as best I could. And it really started costing me things. I wouldn't pursue opportunities when they were presented to me. But after we started doing work together, I believed in myself. And I have always had such great relationships with all my clients, but the quality of those relationships and how happy my clients were with the work I was doing for them just exponentially went up. And I would say yes to new opportunities that were a right fit that I probably would have just rejected before. So because of that, yeah, you're the best investment I've made for my business, Tara, hands down.
So dollar-wise or X-wise, what did that do for your business? Either an X return on the investment or dollar-wise, what did that do for you?
Oh gosh, Tara, you've made me easily over 50 grand this year. No question. No question.
I'm not charging enough.
I agree. I agree. And Tara, the thing is, and I'll say this on record is, we're always on a journey of self-improvement. And I'm mature enough to know that in the future, as I develop and experience new things, there might be things that I run into, and you're obviously going to be the first person I call to partner with me to resolve those things again.
This is what I find, and please echo this back to me, but the more authentic you are, I just find that your world gets bigger. You start interfacing with people who are on the same level, and it just kind of gets more exciting and fun, doesn't it? I mean, if you were to describe the life journey 90 days ago, and you were already amazingly successful and people loved you wherever you went, but now 90 days later, if you were adjectives that describe the feeling of it now, what would that be?
Bliss. Because I am not worried about the approval of others anymore. And when I'm authentic and I follow my heart and I run my business how I want to run it, and I set boundaries with people, some people won't like that, but that pales in comparison to the people who do. And when I follow my heart and I'm authentic, it's like you said, the world just opens up. And then every single engagement I have in how I show up in my business, it's authentically me. I don't have to pretend to be something I'm not. And that is the best feeling.
Yeah, that's for my people pleasers out there. When you've been raised and your reaction to things that's a stress reaction is to make other people happy, even though you're not, that's where those beautiful boundaries come into play. What would you say to somebody, because a lot of people take themselves out of the game. They don't go into something like this because they're afraid.
Oh my gosh, I would say do it. I would say where your fear is, there your task is. And just know that, my problem is I had been telling myself stories for years and years and years. And those stories came about through experiences in my childhood, different events that had, created these pathways in my brain. And I had been operating over those for years. I mean, I experienced some pretty severe bullying when I was very young in my childhood. And come to find out that, 15 years later, as a business owner, I'm still making decisions just like as if I were that 12-year-old kid that was getting bullied. I mean, that's ridiculous. But I didn't know that. So just know that you are not your negative thoughts and emotions, and it's so possible to get rid of that. And you have to come to a place like I did, and it's so difficult at the time when you're like in the dark pit of despair, but you just have to know, like, this is temporary. I'm not always going to feel like this. And for me, I was inspired by, again, listening to those episodes of your podcast, Tara, those testimonials, because those were just stories of other people who had been where I was. And so if it worked for them, it could work for me.
I love it. No, you've covered so much ground here. I love it. I love it. Is there anything else you'd like to say in closing? I so appreciate you coming on.
The last thing I'll say, Tara, is, I'm obviously a business owner. I'm a high performer, hyper achiever, and I know a lot of people listening are as well. And I would say it's so important for you as a business owner to invest in yourself. And I implore you to do it with Dr. Tara Perry, because you, at the end of the day, you are your business, and the business that you've created is literally a direct result of your thoughts and emotions. So if something's not working in your business, it's because something's not working in your mind and your thoughts and emotions. So if you resolve that, you can take your business wherever you want to go.
I think the business world is starting to understand quite clearly that 80% of business is up here. Would you agree?
I would totally agree.
Thank you, Noah, so much for coming on this episode of Next Level Healing. And folks, if you got great value out of it, which I'm sure you did, please click subscribe, and we'll see you on the next episode of Next Level Healing.
This podcast is intended for the purpose of providing information and education. It does not provide advice and is not meant to be used for any self-diagnosis or the replacement of any kind of licensed professional. The creators and individuals appearing here do not endorse any specific tests, positions, medications, products, or procedures. The views and opinions expressed in this podcast are of the speakers and do not necessarily reflect the views or positions of any entities they represent.